Ol'Kalau has set the pace for Kenya in many ways. The first one is in terms of owning the candidate. They are saying, nyinyi ambao mumeweka pesa nyumbani, you know, the thieves of public resources who are thinking that I have been amassing wealth to come and vie in 2027 in constituency A or B or C. You are being told that sisi tunataka chokora wetu. We want our own guy. We will buy him a suit. He doesn't have to have one. We want a person who we can hold to account. We want a candidate we can own. Ol'Kalau has set the pace. They are rubbishing money in 2027. And I am happy about that. Because our politics for a long time was about the rich. It was about those people who have a lot of money. Now the people are saying no. No, 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 no. Wewe na pesa yako na helicopter zako na kila kitu. Ol'Kalau has set the pace. They have said no. That is not going to work. Number two, Ol'Kalau has also set a new pace for us. They have told us that goons have got no place in this republic. And I have always said it. When we were in Kikuyu, when we in DCP were being beaten up in Kikuyu, they had tried sending goons. And I remember our party leader, Rigathi Gachagua, saying, we only have one strategy against goons. Get so many people to come. And we called people, because sisi were to mobilize for our rallies, we don't have money, we don't give, tutatoa wapi. So in Kikuyu, we have about 10, 11,000 people showing up. How many goons can you get? Maximum 200. You cannot get more than 200 goons in one go, whoever you are. So they came, they looked at us, and they couldn't do anything. So what did they resort to? Those Subaru guys. Where we were, they threw 6 tear gas canisters at us, just to disperse us. And then they shot in the air, they shot our vehicles, they did all sorts of things. So we have told Kenyans, musiwe na uoga, what is goons? You will never be able to mobilize more than 200 of them, whoever you are. And the society is bigger than those small young people. It is bigger than those young people who think they can come and rule the society with violence. So Ol'Kalau has cleared that for us. It has shown us that it is possible. There's another third thing they have done. They have told us that we are the people and we are more powerful than policemen and we can control them peacefully. Because they would come and tell policemen, sisi leo ndio tuna search police. Sio police wana to search. You're not going into that polling station with a bag that we haven't searched. And they did it firmly, without violence, but with a very strong resolve. And that is what we are telling Kenyans. Strategy ya 2027 ni, tunatokea tunaweka kura. But number two, without being violent, firmly and with resolve, we shall protect that ballot. They blocked roads. They said, hakuna gari itaingia kwa polling station. Because we had reason to believe that pre-marked ballots were supposed to have been introduced into polling stations. So tukasema hakuna gari itaingia. And for sure, hakuna gari iliingia kwa polling station in any way. Kama unataka kuingia, shukia hapa, tembea kwa miguu ingia, hautakufa if you walk 20 meters. But also, the last and the most important thing they did for us is that they showed us that state violence is not stronger than the will of the people. We saw how many Tiguans, how many Subarus, how many hooded men. By the way, those are people who do not deserve to be on the face of this country. Why are you coming with your face hidden? Unavaa mask kweni kuna COVID. What are you doing with your face covered? Why are you brandishing a gun and you don't want us to see who you are? Those vehicles, all that they did, but yet the people of Ol'Kalau still won. William Ruto brought his A game. He brought everything. This is a guy who had said, niko na mpango, niko na strategy, 2027 nitaosha hawa watu. He never left anything behind. Anything he wanted to use in 2027, he brought in Ol'Kalau. He brought the police, he brought guns, he brought weapons, he brought all those hooded men, he brought everything he had. He even brought 10 billion. His own MPs admitted to having bribed 1.2 million. IBC actually charged them a fine of 2.5 million for bribing. So they were indicted, they were found guilty of bribing. But after he's brought everything he had, William Ruto brought us all his cards for 2027 into Ol'Kalau, and they all failed. So William Ruto, you have been tested in Ol'Kalau. And let me tell you, in 2027, where will you get 4 water cannons for every constituency? Where will you get 20 Subarus and Prados and double cabins for every constituency? Where will you get enough hooded men with guns for every of the 290 constituencies? In 2027, If the goons that were sent by your administration could not contain one constituency, the goons will be stretched out in 2027. Every MCA aspirant, MP, governor, senator will have some goons at their disposal. So hakutakuwa na supply ya goons. Where will you get 2,000 policemen in 2027 to send to every constituency? It is game shot for William Ruto. It is done for him. Wale walikuwa na imani na William Ruto, ati they were hanging on to his coats and saying, atatuibia kura, atatupigania, atatutumia goons, atatusaidia kurudi. If you are in UDA and you've been lying to yourself that there is a way in which William Ruto has got some hidden magic for you, we have shown you in Ol'Kalau. We have one ticket, one magic, the people.
Wow.
We in DCP have one magic, that we get the people who live there, the people who believe in democracy, the people who are willing to guard their vote. And we come with everything we have. We cast our ballots peacefully. Once we do it peacefully, we guard it with everything we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happened yesterday was unacceptable. When you see people driving top of the range vehicles and armed with what appears to be lethal weapons, then at that stage you don't know whether these are actually law enforcement officers or whether they're goons. The probability does exist that they are law enforcement officers because, you know, the way they were running around town with that level of alacrity, a political goon may not do that. Although still, political goons can do that if they know they've got the cover of politicians. And that can be used as a strategy for, you know, voter strategy to ensure that people do not come out, voter suppression, to ensure that people do not come out and vote. So one would expect that the law enforcement agencies would actually do an audit of all these guys who were around town, the way they were driving those top of the range vehicles, you know, scaring everybody. That is something which must be done. And then number two, political parties and the political parties leadership must come together and everybody agrees that then next year's election is going to reflect the interests and aspirations of the citizens, not the interests and aspirations of the political leaders who may want to win either by hook or crook. Now, if they come up with that kind of a framework, which has got very clear pecuniary as well as criminal penalties, then people will know that you cannot afford to play around with this election. And then number two, and this is where politics becomes interesting, a few days before the election, everybody had cast aspersions on IBC's capacity to do an election, or even to deliver a free, fair, and credible election. And that is not just limited to Kenya. A few hours ago in the US, Trump has given a position about the way the elections were infiltrated. Now it appears that we are going to have our politicians, just like in the US, in Kenya, when the election reflects your interests and aspirations, you say IBC has done a good job, like what the winner has indicated. And I suspect, had he lost, he would have cast aspersions on IBC's capacity to do elections. So again, it's incumbent on IBC to go to the top, literally, of every mountain, now in this case Mount Kenya, Mount Kilimanjaro, and preach to the entire world. And we have said these times above number, that they've created predictable systems for unpredictable outcomes. If they do that, then people will be comfortable with the decisions made. And they say that in democracy, one of the key components is the art of accepting defeat. That when you are beaten in an election, you must actually concede. And it doesn't matter where this by-election is located or where the election is located, you must concede. Because if you do not concede, then that is a recipe for disaster. So at that stage, you give credit to the DP, Kindiki. He was among the first people to concede defeat and say that we've been walloped, so it's now 1-1. Let's face the next election with a lot of interest. But the implications for this, I think, they're going to be very, very, I mean, right now the people are going to be bleeding.
I'm now looking back retrospectively, and I'm happy that we never got Mbere at that point in time, because William Ruto would stand a chance now in Mbere. If we had gotten Mbere, he would stand a chance because he would come and tell them he has got something to offer. Now the people of Mbere have tasted everything William Ruto can offer. And they've also tasted how he can betray them and take away from them what is given them. There is nothing that William Ruto can tell the people of Mbere that they would listen. And by Mbere, I mean the whole of Mount Kenya East. So I am glad that it went that way. We were unhappy then. We are happy now, because now the mountain is one indivisible, strong unit a block of votes that cannot be taken away. But also, this leadership is unacceptable by any standard anywhere across the world. It's not acceptable. So first thing is we want to know, are you pro-Ruto for 2027 or not? Because that's the first measure. Now, if you're pro-Ruto, then you're not with the bulk of Kenyans. So wewe kando. Number two, hii maneno ya kusema niko UDA na niko DCP na niko na Jubilee. Sisi, look at, mimi kama fanya mambo, I took time before I decided to join DCP. But the minute I did, I have been there and I have been consistent and I have been clear. People told me it's a tribal outfit. I told them no. MCA wa Atuoli ni wa DCP. You know, in Onaro here we have an MCA. Huko ni kwa Kikuyu. Yeah. So DCP is a national party. And we are here to stay and we are here to take it. I have been found with Linda Mwananchi and people have asked me, what are you doing with them? And I've told them, when it was being formed, I was there. And the first time we had a meeting in Busia, I spoke and brought Rigachi's greetings there. And we've continued, and I have told people that these parties have looked and they need to have people within. I mean, when we go for Linda Mwananchi rallies, for example, I'm with Dan Maanzo of Wiper. It doesn't mean that Dan Maanzo has left Wiper. No, he's been sent there by Wiper because we want to work together. Senator Onyonka comes for all DCP meetings. He goes for Wiper meetings. He goes for Jubilee meetings. He goes for... The reason is we want to work together. Jubilee sometimes does send their able, Angel Mbuthia, to Linda Mwananchi meetings because we are coming together. I can assure you, before August, latest September, this united opposition will have the likes of Sifuna and the others coming together. Are we perfectly in harmony? No. It's not easy. We are different, okay? And when you look at the person of Rigathi and the person of Sifuna, intrinsically they are different. They are different in the way they carry themselves, but we will find a way to make them work together. Matiang'i and somebody like any other person, like Justin Muturi, they are cut from a different fiber. But for the sake of the fight that is ahead of us, which is making William Ruto a one-term president, there has to be harmony. But also one last thing about what he said. My good friend here comes and says that William Ruto needs to sit with a pen and think about, do I want to be re-elected? What do I need to do? Who told you it's about William Ruto? First, he needs to ask himself, do Kenyans want me? Do Kenyans have trust in me? Do Kenyans think I deserve a second term? This country is ours. Na sisi kama wa Kenya anasikiza na amefanya opinion poll mpaka za NIS. When you hear that 80% of the country doesn't want you, why are you making a strategy about how to lead them again? I wish William Ruto became magnanimous enough to say, it's not about me as William Ruto anymore. What do Kenyans want? And we want him to ask himself, if the bigger percentage of Kenyans do not want him, there is no need for making a strategy about how you want to be re-elected. This is where you come and tell Kenyans, thank you. I was your DP for 10 years, thank you. I have been president for one term, thank you. Mimi nimeshukuru na nimetosheka na hiyo. But this thing of coming and you see people really don't want you, and you start making strategies of how to make people want you, that is not acceptable.
Right.
A retirement plan, we will help you with it.
If you're a politician and your only interest is to win or retain your political seats, and you think there's a wave in Mount Kenya, and the only special purpose vehicle to deliver you to the National Assembly is DCP, if you've got many members of that thinking at the National Assembly, Senate, and the county assemblies, then there's going to be a stampede. Everybody will be looking for Mr. Rigathi to go and kiss his ring, because at least he has demonstrated from Ol'Kalau that if you are a member of my political party, there's a very high probability of you winning. He did not demonstrate that in Mbeere. So people may look at that. Well, then there would be another group that is guided by principles, or there's so bad blood between them and Mr. Rigathi Gachagua that they can't even share a meal. However, again, we are told by political scientists that politicians' selfish interest make for very strange bedfellows. So there are people who live and join Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, knowing very well that they don't like him, they don't like his nose, they don't like his philosophy, they don't like his brand of toxic politics, but because they want to retain a parliamentary seat, they are going to work with him. There are others, again, who would say that this Ol'Kalau by-election has handed President Ruto a lemon and is going to make a lemonade. So they'll be asking, why is the vodka for us to make a lemonade? And it's, again, erroneous to use a by-election as the definitive of what is going to happen next year, because President Ruto has got 1 year to recraft his strategy. So there's going to be a lot of water going under the bridge. And if our President Ruto today, in fact, I will treat this one as a strategic opportunity for me to go back to the drawing board using a blank sheet strategy. Go back with a clean piece of paper and a pencil and ask myself, do I want to win next year's election? If the answer is yes, then I ask myself, what are the critical success factors? And what is the critical path that I must take? What other alliances or coalitions do I need to build to achieve my objective? So that probability does exist. But the victory trip that Mr. Rigiji is going to do later on in the day, that is part of a strategy to remind anybody who wants to run for political office that if you're not part of this bandwagon, then your goose is thoroughly cooked. But for President Ruto, he can go back, and in my view, what has happened is been handed a lemon. And I understand he doesn't consume alcoholic beverage, but you can look for vodka and make a nice lemonade. And then number two, we must not be very selective when you are talking about democracy. And I'll just use one example. For people around during the general elections, one remembers of Baby Pendo, and we do not want to start going into the details that what happened around that, because we are very selective when talking about presidents in Kenya and their capacity for democracy and their love for the people. However, as you talk about Ol'Kalau, the elephant in the room is that was a Jubilee seat. And one would want to ask, where is the Jubilee party leader and where is the Jubilee presidential candidate? Because it appears that they were missing in action. One would have expected that because it was a Jubilee seat, the Jubilee leadership would have spent resources to retain that position, but it appears that they were missing in action. And I know next time there is, when the opposition leaders are meeting, whichever room they'll be meeting in, the last person to walk into that room is going to be Mr. Rigathi Gachagua. And this time, like Okunko, he'll be working with a spring. The last time he entered that meeting after being walloped in Mbere, I suspect he walked there timid with his head covered in sweat. But this time around, when he goes into that room, he will be bubbling with energy. And it appears that it's going now to be very easy to determine who's going to be the presidential candidates for the opposition.
Yes, I need to correct him on a few things, and probably I'll start from where he left. And one of the first things I need to tell him is that in Mbere, DCP never had a candidate. In fact, DCP got involved in Mbere 2 weeks to the election. We decided to come and support the DP candidate. It was DP trying to recover their seat.